10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to another episode of India on Cricket 8, your number one destination for all things to do with Indian cricket. And today we bring you part two of our IPL Weekly show here, focusing on the biggest franchise tournament in the world. And Megha Sinha alongside myself, Nikesh and Megha, as always. Megha, it's been a pretty explosive start to the IPL, as we discussed on our last episode. We're a week and a half into the competition now, and it never really fails to entertain. We've seen lots of new drama unfolding in the last few days. We've seen a fella bowling at 155.8 kilometers per hour, an Indian, albeit as well, a 21-year-old, Mayank Yadav. We'll discuss him a little bit later on as well. We've seen the old guard like Virat Kohli continuing to churn out the runs, albeit being criticised for his previous innings of 80-odd when strike rate was discussed and all those sorts of things. And the Mumbai Indians, well, they never get off to a good start in the IPL, do they? But this year it seems a little bit different. 3 straight defeats under a new captain, Hardik Pandya. Their own fans booing them at the Wankhede Stadium. There's lots of discontent around the Mumbai Indians. Let's start with the Mumbai Indians. In fact, Megha, what is going on there? Another defeat to the Rajasthan Royals, and things don't get any easier for Hardik Pandya, who could do with a win, really, just to get the people off his back.
We are starting with the bottom, and that's where Mumbai Indians are positioned at the moment, because like you mentioned, 3 matches yet to get those crucial points. But then the booing, and that continues, despite Sanjay Manjrekar warning the fans, guiding them, and trying his best to ensure that there was some sort of support for Hardik Pandya at the toss. But that just continues. We understood the reason in Ahmedabad, because of course it was Gujarat Titans that Hardik Pandya had left to shift, but then in Hyderabad as well. And in Hyderabad, what reason could the fans there have to boo Hardik Pandya? Because they didn't have affinity with Mumbai Indians. They'd be fans of Mumbai Indians, but you wouldn't expect that much of support there, considering that it was SRH's home ground. Again, once the caravan shifted to Mumbai, obviously there was a lot of anticipation. We were wondering what the attention would be like. Negative attention. Once again, a lot of booing. Hardik Pandya did kind of started winning them over when he was unleashing those big strokes, considering the sort of disastrous start that Mumbai got. But that was very ephemeral, because once he got out, the rhetoric continued. It's very unfortunate, and Hardik Pandya, of course, is bearing the brunt right now. But what has he done wrong is the question. If we look at it from neutral fans' perspective, fan loyalty in cricket, in IPL, it's very evident there. Mumbai Indian fans are disgruntled, GT fans are displeased. But otherwise, for other fans, what exactly is the issue? Just because a player has been traded, it's not like it's not happened in the past. And anyway, Hardik Pandya was born and bred, okay, not in literal terms, but in cricketing terms. He was obviously, it is Mumbai Indians where he made his mark, because of which the performances there actually helped him grab limelight, and eventually got selected for the Indian team as well. He went back to his old franchise. Although I think there's another part to this narrative as well. Last season, when there was an interview and he was asked about the key to succeeding in the IPL, he said there are a couple of ways. Either you go the Chennai Super Kings route, you get normal players and get the best out of them, or you do the Mumbai Indians thing and you get the best players and they deliver it for you and you win trophies, which was kind of disrespectful coming from a former player, and also not completely accurate, because there were players like Jasprit Bumrah, Hardik Pandya himself, his brother Krunal Pandya. The time they made their debuts for Mumbai Indians, they were in big names. They were scouted very well. Mumbai Indians do scout well. And that's why obviously they unearthed these talents and they went on to make their mark on international stage as well. But all in all, maybe these remarks, maybe overall reputation that Hardik Pandya enjoys, and enjoys or doesn't enjoy, and maybe because of the fact that he gets frequently injured and fans have high hopes out of him, and the comparisons that get made in his case, he gets compared to Kapil Dev, the great Kapil Dev. So all of that combined, there is some level of hostility, and the opportunity, the fans are finding it just right to unleash it against Hardik Pandya. But again, like in his post-match summary of the game, he mentioned that they did not give up. but already there is discontentment. You see the owners being jittery because the results are not coming. And I have just one more point to add on this topic. Fans keep talking about Rohit Sharma uh, joining the Mumbai Indians, and then trophies being churned out under his captaincy. Before that, of course, Mumbai Indians hadn't won any trophies. Uh, Overall, as management as well, overall the owners as well, we've not seen them take knee-jerk reactions. In Rohit Sharma's case, there were 3 years of struggle, and including the struggle of 2022 when they struggled massively, couldn't get those 2 points for the longest time. I think 8 matches, first 8 matches they lost. But before that, when the inaugural season, there were owners like Vijay Mallya being extremely reactive, or for that matter, even KKR doing away with Saurav Ganguly as the captain. Mumbai Indians backed their players, backed their core, and backed Sachin Tendulkar as captain. So it's not like they take knee-jerk reactions. But this situation, because Rohit Sharma has had to make way for Hardik Pandya as captain, it's not gone too well with fans. But what's your opinion assessing the entire scenario?
Look, I mean, with Hardik, he is like Marmite. Like I said on the last episode, you either love it or you hate it, and it's the same with Hardik Pandya. You know, he's got fans who do love him, but not in the same way. He doesn't have that same fan following as somebody like a Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma, or even a Jasprit Bumrah or Rishabh Pant, or these superstars of the Indian national team. And I don't know what the reason for that is. There has been that perception of this arrogance that was kind of, supposedly around early on in his career. I think he's matured as an individual massively in the last couple of years. It kind of coincided really with him taking the captaincy of the Gujarat Titans, and also in his personal life, becoming a father, getting married, settling down, having that extra responsibility off the field seemed to have mellowed him and given him that different perspective on life. And that translated into his cricket, where he was then the father figure as a captain of a young Gujarat Titans team and led them really well, albeit along with a really, really good coaching staff there in Ashish Nehra, Gary Kirsten, all the rest of the guys that were there, Vikram Solanki, of course. So was massively helped as a captain by that coaching staff. But nonetheless, he's an IPL winning captain, took the franchise to another final in just his second season as well. So you can't argue with his record as a skipper. It's just the fact that Rohit is a Mumbaiker. He's a local boy. He's the captain of the Indian national team. He's led them to 5 titles as a captain as well. The fans are not going to let that go lightly. And a few days ago, when we were recording our last podcast, I was actually in Mumbai and, occasionally speaking to taxi drivers and other locals in coffee shops and things like that. There's a real sense that they just do not like what has happened. They do not like Hardik Pandya. They don't understand even why he came back as a player. They don't feel they necessarily needed him, the people that I spoke to, and they were kind of fine as they were. That chapter had closed. The Pandya brothers had left, and they were ready to move on with their franchise and go down a slightly different path. So a backward step that they perhaps have taken in the view of the fans, and then replacing a hero in Mumbai like Rohit Sharma is never going to go down well, particularly when it's somebody like Hardik Pandya who already divides opinion anyway. So, the fans are not happy. I mean, look, I'm here in London now. A few days later, there's, the IPL fans that I have spoken to here, and there's not been many since I've been back, kind of don't really have an opinion on it either way. They just are of the opinion that just get on with it. It's cricket. Things happen. Captains get sacked. Move on. But that passion will never go from the Mumbai Indians fans inside the Wankhede Stadium. And literally every time he touched the ball, he might make a brilliant stop in the field at extra cover or something, and immediately the boos ring out. And at one point, the camera panned over to Rohit Sharma, who's fielding near the boundary, which has been another thing which he's had to do since he's not been captain. He's been, being sent from sort of fine leg to, wherever, and running around in between overs. He almost made a gesture to the fans, it looked like, where he was sort of just urging them to just calm down with the booing as well, which is good to see, because at the end of the day, it's not going to help anyone, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is probably the time when we actually get to understand what fan loyalty in IPL is like. But beyond that as well, what a situation Hardik Pandya finds himself in. At least when he was with GT, he was loved. simply because of the fact that the trophies were coming, not the trophies, but the trophy did come in the first season itself, and that was a remarkable achievement, straight away for a new team to have that sort of run. And even in the last season, they made it to the finals, and that loss came off the last ball. Before that as well, in the league stages, finished at the top both the seasons. So enjoyed tremendous success, flourished as a captain, and not just as a captain, but also contributed with his bowling and batting skills. And even in the finals, in fact, if you look at the 2022 edition, in the finals, he stepped up with the bat as well. So all in all, things were falling in place for Hardik Pandya, and it all looked hunky dory. Now he decided that he wanted to make a move to Mumbai Indians, of course, captaining Mumbai Indians, which a franchise that has got that legacy, has been around since the inception of the IPL and situated in Mumbai. So it would have had its lures. Hardik Pandya took that call, and now he finds himself in a very strange situation. He's not been in this situation before, even as a player in the IPL, because remind you, Mumbai Indians before 2020 were at least winning a title every alternate season, and Hardik Pandya joined around 2015. So Hardik Pandya as a player or as a captain is not used to being in such a situation in the IPL. Where do things head from here if results do not come? And we've seen that it happens in the IPL. Momentum is an important thing. For Mumbai Indians themselves, 2022, when the results were not coming, they simply stopped coming. They continued to lose, and they created one record after the other. Obviously they do not start well, but it's not just that anymore, because we're not talking about the first game, or for that matter, first two games. It's now three games without a win. And also, it's slightly unusual in cricket to see a national player being booed like that, jeered like that. We've seen that in football, we've seen that in other sports, but probably if there was somebody who could take it well, it would be Hardik Pandya, because otherwise it would get on to the toughest of characters. And when that follows you incessantly, there's no support to be found anywhere. And I think this too is a momentum thing. It started in Ahmedabad, it continued in Hyderabad, and because the team has not been winning, I mean, it's just a sort of the thing with fans, because okay, they did it in Hyderabad, let's do it again, let's do it all over again, and it's making headlines. And it's not that they're consciously thinking so, but just because it's happened before, let's continue with it. I mean, this is the thing to be
Well,
done when
look,
you see India.
I understand why the Gujarat Titans fans would have done it, because he was their captain, he was having a lot of success, and he decided to go. And, you know, that happens in football as well. When a player leaves your club that you passionately support, and you feel they've left for maybe the wrong reasons, you know, look, let's not make any bones about it. He's probably doubled, tripled his salary, maybe even quadrupled it at the Mumbai Indians, and not just his salary, but the rest of everything that he gets from the Ambani family as well. I don't think he has to pay a penny for pretty much anything, if reports are correct. So look, he's very well looked after by the Ambanis, and he's essentially gone there for a lot of money. So when a player leaves you in a situation like that, and they think he's just left for the money, for the paycheck, then of course they're entitled to boo, right? That's just how sport works, and not just football. It happens across sports, across team sports. So I understand the Gujarat Titans doing it, but then, as you say, it just had that kind of knock-on effect. And look, at the end of the day, Hardik aside, they've lost 3 in a row. It's not unfamiliar territory for the Mumbai Indians to lose a couple of games at the start of the IPL and then go on to win it. They've got form for doing that sort of thing, but never have they ever been in this kind of situation where it's a divided fan base. It appears to be a divided camp. We don't know the ins and outs for sure. But, you know, Jasprit Bumrah, for example, would have been the next in line to be captain before Hardik's transfer back to the Mumbai Indians. So I wonder how he's feeling. Sorry?
Or maybe Suryakumar Yadav as well, who at the moment is injured.
Yeah, potentially. But I think Bumrah being the vice captain of the Indian national team, I think there were a lot of talks about him being the natural successor to Rohit if and when Rohit did decide to retire, which obviously will happen one day. And Bumrah's a few years his junior. So I wonder how he's feeling. I wonder if he's got much backing within the team as well, and how those players are feeling. And just the fact that, you know, Hardik coming back in just changes the dynamics of the team, changes the team balance. So there are players now that would have maybe played who aren't playing and aren't getting a shout in the team. So there's that kind of division. There's obviously, look, you see a lot of clips on social media, and you shouldn't believe everything that you see in a short clip. But it doesn't appear that Hardik has the best relationship with all of the Mumbai Indians coaching staff. Lasith Malinga and those clips that have been doing the rounds, I don't know if there's anything to be read into that. But I don't know if this is a decision that was made by the management group. It appears to be a decision that was made by the ownership of the Mumbai Indians to bring him back and make him captain. And, you know, maybe that has led to divisions within the camp as well. So, look, interesting times for the Mumbai Indians, but terrible, terrible start. You know, they were probably in with a shout of maybe beating the Gujarat Titans in their first game, but then they've just been completely wiped in the next two. I mean, all right, they made a good fist of trying to chase down 278, but that was never going to happen really. And, you know, especially with somebody like Pandya's innings in that kind of held them back. They may well have got a bit closer if it wasn't for the slowness of his innings as well. So everything going wrong for them and their captain. And it looks like it's going to be a long season ahead if things don't change drastically very soon. But listen, this is not a Mumbai Indians podcast, so we shall move on and talk maybe about Virat Kohli. Let's talk about something, I suppose, a little bit more positive in the fact that he's now not orange cap holder, but he's right up there in terms of runs scored in this season's competition, in number 2 position. Riyan Parag has obviously overtaken him, and we'll mention him in just a moment. But Virat Kohli, great start to the season. I said he's going to score runs this season. He has been scoring runs. Where do you stand on the criticism over his last innings? I mean, I kind of think he had to play that situation, and, you know, had he then stayed in a little bit longer, his strike rate would have probably improved a touch more. But look, when no one else is scoring runs, you've got to be anchor. You've got to hold the thing together, right? So I think the criticism is a little bit harsh.
There's a sense of deja vu to this Virat criticism because we've heard it before. One glaring example being that game against Gujarat Titans, their last league game last season, which they went on to lose. Virat Kohli scored a century. There was a lot of criticism. The fans were very passionate at that moment because, of course, the team had been knocked out of the league stage. They couldn't make it to the playoffs. So there was a lot of course, that emotional went as well in their assessment. But the point remains, if you remove those innings from the scorecard, what does it look like? Because there's no other batter contributing with a valuable, substantial knock. So in those scenarios, of course, we'll have to be less harsh on Virat Kohli in our assessment. And also, what does RCB lineup look like? It has Virat Kohli at the top. He can very well don that anchor's position because there are not other players doing the same thing for the team. In the context of the Indian team, that criticism still makes sense because if you have Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, KL Rahul, they've all been broadly anchors. Rohit Sharma of late, of course, he's gotten off to flyers, and we saw that in the ODI World Cup as well, albeit a different format. But then otherwise, in case of RCB, you have players like Glenn Maxwell, Dinesh Karthik, who's been in phenomenal form once again this season. You'd expect Glenn Maxwell to get on and get going straight away. Anuj Rawat as well. He's shown that ability to get going from ball one. So probably Virat Kohli, and it's not a decision that Virat Kohli would be taking alone. Understanding his stature in the team as well, notwithstanding that, but the management as a whole takes a call on who gets to play what roles in the team. And yet, eventually, in the media, there's always this conversation. And also, just because it's Virat Kohli, the opinions have to be divided and they would garner a lot of attention. But scores of 21 came at Chepauk and then 77-83 unbeaten, both of them at Chinnaswamy. The fans were treated to Virat Kohli's sublime innings. And I don't think the complaints should continue, but they would because, again, it's Virat Kohli.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Kohli, but it's a Kohli that's scoring runs, and I think that's good for India. I like him batting at the top of the order as well. I think that's where he belongs in T20 cricket. Whether or not that happens for India, I don't know, because there's Jaiswal, there's Rohit. It's going to be difficult for him to make that opening slot, but I like to see it, and I think that's where he's at his most effective in this format of the game. So, look, I expect him to score a lot more runs this season. He won't care about the critics. He'll carry on churning out the runs, and could it be RCB's year? Finally, the women have done it. Could the men do it? We'll have to wait and see. Long season ahead, of course, for RCB and the rest of the teams as well. We are, of course, if you're listening to us on the podcast feed later on, we are at the moment going out live on YouTube and Facebook. And shout out to Golu Singh and Janu Rajput, who've both been in touch to say hello. If you've got any questions for us and you are watching one of those live streams, do get in touch and we'll do our best to get back to you with the answer. One thing a lot of people are talking about here as well is Rian Parag. I mentioned him there. He's one of those players who I'm surprised he's been given this long a rope with the Rajasthan Royals, because he's been averaging, I think, for the last 4 seasons, under 15 or 16 for each of those seasons. And in an IPL team, to continue to not just retain your contract and be part of the squad, but to keep getting picked in the side is just mind-boggling. I don't understand how that has happened. We hear about this guy's talent and the runs he scores in domestic cricket and all that. He's taken that to another level in the levels below IPL this season, both in Ranji, both in the domestic T20 as well. And it's proving its worth. They've moved him up the order, which I think helps as well. He's batting at number 4 now. He was used as a finisher previously for the Rajasthan Royals. And he is playing beautifully, unbeaten half-century in that run chase against the Mumbai Indians. And, timed it beautifully. He was going, just chasing 126 to win. So he was taking his time. He was scoring a run of ball. And then when he realized that they were just sort of within touching distance of victory, unleashed some beautiful shots. And the timing, the quick hands that he's got, the wrist work as well. Just really a treat to watch this season.
The parallels are visible to some extent with Hardik Pandya, albeit slightly different context. Rian Parag too has copped a lot of criticism in the past few seasons. And we have to remember, we've known him forever, playing IPL, seeing him play for the Rajasthan Royals. He made his debut when he was just 16 years of age. That was 2019 season. And in the last game against DC at Kotla, he did leave a mark because other RR batters didn't show any sort of maturity, but Rian Parag stepped up, scored a half century. Subsequently, there have been sporadically some innings of note, but that's about it. He's somebody who's very expressive. You'd see him playing his PUBG and the things that the Gen Z doing all of those things and attracting a lot of negative attention. And there was this one instance where he hit the winning runs and was seen dancing and presenting his traditional dance form, Bihu. And apart from that as well, there've been odd fights that he picked up, one with Harshal Patel. So he's been very expressive on the field. And if that expression does not get accompanied by performances, then the negative attention, the intensity of that just rises. And that's been the case with Rian Parag as well. He's struggled massively, but Rajasthan Royals have continued to back him. And in fact, couple of seasons back, he was when he was snapped by Rajasthan Royals, that came for a whopping amount. That also probably meant that there were other teams as well interested in him, and that's why the amount went to that level. But again, last season he underperformed, and that was absolutely disappointing. And there was a lot of trolling on social media, incessant trolling. But this season, even in the domestic cricket, even in the domestic circuit, it looked different. Rian Parag did look different. There was this message from Surya Kumar Yadav as well, talking about Rian Parag as to the intensity that he showed at the NCA as well, and otherwise as well, with the sort of runs that he scored inside Mushtaq Ali Trophy, over 500 runs, average of 85, strike rate around 173, and carried on with that in the IPL. At the moment, he carries that orange cap because of superior strike rate, but absolutely phenomenal. And we've not seen him do so well for 3 matches in a row, but that's what has happened this season. He looks different. He looks confident. He's put in that work, and he's so young. So the criticism was understandable because the performances didn't come. Rajasthan Royals continued to back him. He did get to play a lot of games all the seasons that we're talking about, but finally the performances have come, and good for Rajasthan Royals because at the moment they find themselves perched at the top with good 6 points.
Yeah, and helping their net run rate as well with that victory over Mumbai, more than 4 overs remaining in that particular one. Look, I was commentating yesterday on the IPL for the BBC. I'm back in today for the game involving RCB. And I was asked a question by my colleague. This was when Jasprit Bumrah was bowling in the sort of start of his spell. And look, there was no chance the Mumbai Indians were really going to defend that total on that pitch. But if there's one man who can create havoc, and we saw some beautiful deliveries, although he went wicketless, it was Jasprit Bumrah. He asked me, if you were to be reborn, would you rather be Don Bradman or would you be Jasprit Bumrah? Now, I was a batter and still am when I occasionally play. I was a reluctant bowler. I did used to bowl seam, and I was quite quick in my very younger days, but never enjoyed bowling. But that's because I didn't have the skill or the pace or the fear factor of somebody like a Bumrah. And I think having that pace and the ability to ruffle batters is something I would absolutely love to have. And just everybody in the world would be just crapping their pants, really. When you come into bowl, they wouldn't know what to do. They don't know which way the ball's going to move, and it's all done at high pace. Now, pace is one thing, skill is another, but pace on its own can be very exciting. And I'm talking here about Mayank Yadav. Is 21 years old, Lucknow Super Giants. He's burst onto the scene in domestic cricket. He's now in the IPL, and he has clocked consistently over 150 kilometers per hour. And in old money, that's like, mid 90 miles an hour consistently. And his quickest delivery, 155.8 kilometers per hour. I mean, that's sort of 97 miles an hour, something like that. It's ridiculous pace. He seems to have pretty good control as well. And as he gets older and works with good coaches, you hope he will learn at least some of the skills that somebody like a Jasprit Bumrah has got. That's a scary prospect. And how exciting is it to see a young kid burst onto the scene like that? We've seen Imran Malik do it in the IPL, albeit a little bit more inconsistently in terms of his performances. But this guy looks like he's got a bit more control.
Absolutely. In fact, how often do we get to see an Indian pacer clocking 155? Last, Umran Malik, and barring that 2022 season, last season he was all over the place and was inconsistent. This season, obviously, again, the attention has shifted away from him. And Mayank Yadav, in this case, so young, so good, has got that accuracy as well. That action as well is so clean and so smooth. And Sonnet Club, it has a history of producing world-class cricketers. Before that, Shikhar Dhawan being one, Rishabh Pant. In fact, Tariq Sinha actually took care of Rishabh Pant, not just as a coach, but also as a father figure. So it has, and in that line of top-notch cricketers, we hear another name, and this time it's Mayank Yadav. Just look at the context, just look at the situation in which the game was placed. And 102, the Punjab Kings were coasting. It looked like they'd be able to overhaul that target of 200. And then comes this youngster, and the batters didn't know what to do. And the batters that he managed to send back were some of the top batters of Punjab Kings. So really an exciting prospect, one that one would look forward to. And this conversation around Umran Malik not being properly looked after. He was very quickly introduced to international cricket because he offered something that we hadn't seen for the longest time, that X factor, that pace. In Mayank's case as well, it would be important as to how he's nurtured in the IPL, otherwise in domestic cricket. Vijay Dahiya helped unearth him because obviously he was playing domestic cricket, but he was snapped up by the Lucknow Super Giants a couple of seasons back, got injured last season as well, didn't have a very clear markup. That was something that LSG worked with him for, didn't get his debut for the longest time. There were times when he'd be told that he'd be getting the cap, but didn't get it. Finally, when he got it, also when he was taken for hits, the way he responded. So, short evidence, we don't have a huge sample size. We've just seen him in one game, but just the sort of maturity and the X factor that he has brought onto the plate, very, very exciting.
Yeah, just brilliant to watch. And when a fast bowler is doing that and with control as well, I think that's the key. It is so exciting, and I'd love to be able to do that myself. And that was the answer, really. You'd rather be a fast bowler with that control and that fear factor. And the fact that, look, in the modern day, if you're playing T20 cricket, you've only got to bowl 4 overs, and then you could even
Yeah.
be impact substituted out of the game and just put your feet up and watch the batters do their work for the rest of it. So it's not a bad life. But look, talking of tactics and things, it looks as though the Rajasthan Royals have got their sort of, everything in place really in terms of their tactics, the way they want to play their cricket, their batting order. Their team looks pretty settled as well. They don't really make any changes to that. I think they look at the moment the more settled side. It's a long old season, but from what you've seen in the early stages, have you got any picks for the top four? Are you changing up what you think your top four might be compared to what you said in our IPL preview episode?
That's quite a googly. Rajasthan Royals kind of always start well, so not getting my hopes too high, but 6 points already, and that will have a say, of course. So maybe Rajasthan Royals, Gujarat Titans, because of how they've coped in the absence of such an important figure, a person who could contribute with couple of skills, to say the least. Chennai Super Kings. Uh, there was a captaincy change, but unlike the 2022 season, it wasn't a bumpy one. Things look pretty smooth there. And then the fourth one is going to be tricky. Lucknow Super Giants have been very consistent over the period of 2 years. Then you also have Royal Challengers Bangalore. DC, unlike the last season, looked better this time around, particularly how they fared in the last game and handing Chennai Super Kings that loss. Uh, I think that fourth spot is going to be slightly tricky. The question goes back to you. You've been asked a lot of questions of late. Tough picks, Bradman or Bumrah, but top four.
I mean,
Which
look,
one?
Bradman or Bumrah, I kind of went back with what about, there's been other intimidating fast bowlers of all time, but nobody necessarily with the pace and the skill. So, just to talk about him in that breath, I think was very complimentary to Jasprit Bumrah. Anyway, look,
Yeah.
Mumbai Indians, I said, would be up there. I still back that they will come good at some point in this season's competition. Whether or not they make the top four, I don't know now, but they'll be in the mix, I think, come the end of the season. I think Gujarat will still be up there. I think Chennai will probably be up there, and I think RCB will probably be the other one. And then that fourth spot will be a battle between maybe Mumbai, Lucknow, and maybe one other side as well. I don't think the Punjab Kings are getting anywhere close this season, unfortunately. But look, we mentioned Chennai, and it would be rude of us not to talk about. Yes, it was a defeat in their last game, but MS Dhoni coming out to bat for the first time this season, smashes his first ball for four, ends up just entertaining the crowd thoroughly. The game was played in Vizag. It was meant to be a home game for the Delhi Capitals. It wasn't. It was a sea of yellow, which is pretty much every neutral ground you go to in the IPL. Even when the IPL was moved to the UAE, whenever CSK played, it was always a home game for them. It was always all yellow. And what an atmosphere. What hitting from MS Dhoni as well. Against somebody like Amrit Norkia, who has got that X factor and that extra pace. It was just brilliant stuff and just rolling back the years. And they may have lost the game. They improved their net run rate as a result of those quick runs at the end as well. It didn't do as much damage to their net run rate, should I say, that defeat. So there was that one positive to take, but I don't think literally nobody cared, and no Chennai Super Kings fan cared that they'd lost that game. As far as they were concerned, they watched MS bat, and that was their victory, wasn't it?
It's so mind boggling. He doesn't play cricket for the rest of the year. It's not like he's playing domestic cricket to keep himself in shape. It's only in the nets of CSK that we get to see him before the IPL. And then even in the IPL, and that has been pretty much the scene since 2020, he doesn't come bat up the order. It happens very rarely. We've not seen him bat for the first two games. And then comes this game against Delhi Capitals, and MS Dhoni walks into the middle and walks in, and there's huge roar. Decibel levels go high, fans go berserk. He smacks those shots, and then he ends up with a strike rate that's too cool for somebody who's not consistently playing cricket, who's been away from cricket for the longest time. So it's absolutely mind boggling, age defying for sure. And unlike that one season where he was massively struggling, it looked like age does take a toll. There were conversations like age does take a toll, and then it's not just for the saying. But then subsequently, Amazoni has not featured in every game as a batter. as a strategist, of course, as wicketkeeper. He's shown his reflexes, he's shown his shrewd mind. All of that has happened, including that Pathirana strategy, if you recall from last IPL. All of those contributions have happened, the calculations that he did last time. So all of those things have been happening. But as a batter as well, you get at least a couple of innings from each season where you're left raving about how he manages to do this. And in fact, last season, the season before that, rather, the knock against Mumbai Indians, where he helped them seal a win, and then in the qualifier first against Delhi Capitals, that came in the 2021 season. So he just keeps turning back the clock. There wouldn't be a lot of those innings, but there'd be at least three or four of them, and you'd be left talking about it through the whole of the IPL. And it's worth talking about just because of the sort of stature that he has built for himself, because of his achievements. But how excited were you? Was that Dhoni fan inside you, at home or in commentary, chanting?
I mean, not maybe chanting. I don't go to that extent with the Dhoni fanfare. But look, it's always box office, and even if you've missed that match and you tune into the highlights, you just want to fast forward to when Dhoni comes in, because it's theatre. That's what the IPL is all about. The crowd gets so into it, and when he's hitting the ball like that as well, it's just beautiful to watch. You know, he's still got it, right? He's shown in the last couple of seasons that he's still got it. There were a couple of seasons previous to that where he looked like he might be losing his touch and losing that ability to hit those big shots. But he's been practicing in the nets, and this is what the results are. He can still do it. He comes in at number 8, so he's not going to be seen that often batting for the Chennai Super Kings. But, you know, you can't argue with this, and maybe he's given himself another season with performances like that. Who knows? But just before we go, I'm going to ask you a very, very tough question. It's called play, bench, or sell. Now, it's a question that people in football ask a lot. Which player out of these three that I'm going to mention now would you play? Another one who you'd bench, which means you could bring them on as an impact sub, or would you sell? Now, I'm going to go with the performances of 3 stalwarts of the Indian cricket team, stalwarts of the IPL, and I think there's only 3 that I can choose really when we go down this road. Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, MS Dhoni. 3 batters, yes, one of them's a wicketkeeper, but still 3 batters, 3 legends of Indian cricket. Who are you going to play in your 11? Who are you going to bench, so you could bring them on? And who are you going to sell? Who don't you want in your franchise? Go.
Although it is T20 cricket that we are discussing, let me see how diplomatically I can handle it, considering how tough the question is. So Rohit Sharma, I'd sell, and my reasons would be, you want to utilize him as a captain, and there'd be other franchises that can do so. So why not tap into that side, which we've been doing it for the past 5.
But hang on, he could. This is your franchise.
Okay.
This is Megha's Superstars, or whatever you want to call it. This is a brand new franchise, right? You've been given all these players. You can keep them, get rid of them, do what you want. He could be your captain.
How narcissist, right? Megha Superstars, why would the franchise call that? But yeah, he could be. But then there are others around as well, and problem of plenty. He's the India captain as well in the format. But just because he's not the captain in this scenario, better to sell him off and allow other teams to benefit out of the enormous experience that he brings to the table. Between MS Dhoni and Virat Kohli, impact sub, why was that rule introduced in the IPL? I mean, I am beginning to wonder on that now. MS Dhoni, you'd want to, again, considering the brain that he is, but he isn't the captain anymore. So, and he comes pretty late. He comes at number 8 position to bat. So maybe MS Dhoni would be the impact sub, and just by being present on the field for a few minutes, or say 10-15 minutes, he can make a massive impact, like we saw in the last game when it came to batting. And Virat Kohli, his energy, the way he gets the crowd up, the way he contributes in various other ways. So Virat Kohli.
I'd fully agree with your choices there for those reasons. I'd also make Virat the captain, because I think he has to captain every format in every game that he ever plays. But that's a different story. We won't open that can of worms today. We've run out of time for today's episode, so thank you.
section for sure, we'd need
Sorry?
all viewers in the comment section. We need
Yeah.
all viewers to answer this question with their reasons.
I think so, yeah. Who would you
Let's
play? Who
develop.
would you bench? Who would you sell? Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, MS Dhoni, go. And we'll respond to as many of you as we can on our next episode, which will bring you at some point next week. Thank you very much for listening to us and watching us on YouTube and Facebook today. Wherever you're listening to us from or watching us, do hit that like and subscribe button. And as of course, always, do enjoy this week of IPL action. Let us know if you've got any questions for us in the meantime. You can hit us up on social media at Cricket8, and you can find myself and Megha on Instagram, on X, wherever, whatever tickles your fancy, really. But until next time, we'll bid you farewell and say goodbye.